as they throw bottles at officers. Law enforcement was forced to use tear gas to protect themselves against these protesters. Christina Coleman is live with the latest for us. Hi again, Christina.
Yeah, they were throwing bottles, rocks, concrete, boulders, commercial-grade fireworks, and you could see officers, they still have a protective line here to try and stop the crowd from going any further. We've come to a point where you see these vehicles here. You can see cars who have been driving down along this way here in downtown LA. I imagine there's some confusion because this curfew, it goes into effect in about a half hour, and you still have a lot of people down here, and different points are closed off. Again, as police, law enforcement, sheriff's deputies, as they do the best that they can to try to prevent any further violence. Again, since last Saturday.
Let me guess. This one is Trump's fault too, right? Right.
There have been more than 500 arrests related to protest activity, most of them for failure to disperse. But you did have the violence. There again, you can see law enforcement. So they continue to shift. They continue to move because it's a very fluid situation out here.
If you've ever been to Hollywood or you ever been to Los Angeles in California and you've seen police moving around, they move around in packs. They move around in groups because they're scared. And you know, the police chief and the mayor and the governor, they've all handcuffed the police department. So anything can happen to them, but nothing can happen back to the pedestrians or the people that ultimately assault them, which is completely separate and different than what you've seen from the Florida sheriff. And the Florida sheriff was like, yo, basically fuck around and find out. Over in Los Angeles, anybody can do anything. And then 500 people, because you could say, oh man, they really getting on it. They arresting these people. The 500 people that they arrested is just like failure for curfew or something. They probably won't even get a fine or a slap on the wrist. So they're not incentivized to do the right thing. They just gonna keep doing what they want to do.
Every now and then you have people just tossing, hurling objects at them. Moments before I came on air, we heard fireworks again. So can I imagine those were probably lobbed and hurled at law enforcement. So again, they block off that area. They do what they can. At times they have had to disperse tear gas. They've also dispersed those rubber bullets to clear out the crowd. So they're shouting hold here. You can tell they're doing their best, communicating, trying to hold the line here to prevent any further violence. And
this is so disrespectful to our police officers because, and you know, you have to wonder because I've had, you know, several different coaching sessions with police officers before, and they basically tell me, yo, man, we just here to serve and protect our neighborhood and our you know, the area that we live, work, and play in, and it don't benefit them. And, you know, we don't mind disrespecting them as a people. And, you know, again, they don't have the backing or the support. And so they basically there for money. They're there for their job. And most of them is there, you know, just to get back to their family at the end of the night because they know that these people don't have nothing to lose. And a lot of them is even paid protesters incentivized to throw rocks and all of that stuff. And so, you know, it's sad. It really is sad what we see happening on the front lines. I was driving down the street, and so down Michigan Ave here in Detroit, they was doing a little bit of protester. And so, you know, you throw up the finger a little bit, but ain't nobody actually tearing nothing up because the police was on it. The police was walking, and I knew one of the police officers because one of them had lived in my building before. And I said, you know, what's going on? And he was like, listen, they welcome the protests, and as long as they peaceful, and the minute that one of them get out of line, we're going to have to make sure that happens. So, you know, ain't no consequence here. It's no reason for them to feel like anything would happen. And so that's why you see them a half hour before curfew. Ain't nobody tripping. They throwing fireworks and all of that stuff. So it's pretty interesting. It really is interesting. And they be carrying a Mexican flag, too.
As we wait for this curfew to go into effect. But even before that, again, there was an order, a dispersal order for the crowd because of the violence that erupted hours ago. And so people have been told to leave this area, leave immediately. And you can see them disobeying law enforcement. So I'm moving along with my photographer here. And so you can just see this is what we've been doing off and on for hours. We've been moving all throughout downtown as protesters continue to move around in different areas.
Why won't we call them what they are? Why won't we just call them rioters?
I saw them getting together in what looked like a little parking area between a couple of buildings, and law enforcement cleared that out pretty quickly. They're like, you need to go. And of course, you know, they don't want people to get together and communicate and possibly cause mayhem, especially with this being such a volatile and unpredictable situation. So that is what we're seeing here. And again, you have so many people here, the protesters, who are they're calling for ICE to be abolished. They're calling for the immigration.
This is so stupid. Yeah, we're going to get rid of the immigration and customs enforcement. We're going to get rid of ICE. We're going to get rid of Homeland Security. Everybody should just be able to, let's make this the first nation, the first country that don't enforce or have borders at all. Bring in all of the guns, bring in all of the drugs, bring in all of the human trafficking. Let anybody undocumented come over into the United States of America. I'm with it. Let's just go ahead. That's what liberals want. And then everybody can be hippies until it turned into a third world country, and then everybody going to say that they don't want to be here anymore.
Raids to stop. That is what they want, but that messaging, you don't hear it amid all of this violence here. So I'm standing here, you can see the police here, they're doing their best they can. I've moved just about a block since we've been doing this live shot. Been moving all around downtown, and you have a lot of protesters still here. Again, we're a half hour from that curfew going into effect. It's for a mile around downtown LA. Are you okay, Andy? I'm gonna continue to stay in the street here. You guys watch for me so I don't hit anything. So let's stop here. Let's stop here. So Andy, if you can pan back behind me, look at this line of police vehicles. You see that reinforcement here. They have been, some of these officers, they've been on horseback. They're in their patrol cars. They're in patrol units.
And again, with these people doing what they're doing, and they have to basically mobilize the entire police force, not only is it costing the city money that they don't have, because they already over $1 billion over the budget, but then you take police forces and services out of the actual neighborhoods, which is one of the reasons why a lot of these people is out here rioting and they tearing up and they looting these stores.
They're here on the ground. They're doing all that they can. I mean, this area, there's such a huge law enforcement presence in downtown ahead of this curfew going into effect for them to try and keep this area safe. Back to you.
Christina, if I can just ask you, we talked a little bit about the arrest that happened since last Saturday, and you told me a little bit about the strategy. You know, can you imagine if all of a sudden police officers started arresting people right now, it would erupt in chaos. But these protesters also cover their faces because they don't want to be able to be identified later. And Attorney General
because they're not just peaceful protesters.
We will come after you. We will find you. And as a matter of fact, they've gotten a few of the organizers. Are there people still out in the streets? Because we can see the backs of the cops, but we can't see the protesters. Are they still all covered up and trying to hide their identities?
Right. Well, a great deal of them are. And I can tell you this. What Pam Bondi was saying and what the sheriff reiterated yesterday is when people are breaking the law, when they're committing these acts of violence, they might not be arrested immediately, but they said that arrest will likely come because even if they try to cover their face out here, there are so many surveillance cameras. There are people recording things on social media. I mean, law enforcement investigators, they're going to comb through all this evidence and they're going to find people who are causing destruction down here.
See the graffiti, y'all? You see the Mexican
right now,
flags?
LAPD Central Division, they just put on X a message. They said to our downtown LA businesses and residents, please report any criminal activity to LAPD Central Division. Any damage or vandalism should be safely documented. So they're calling on the local business partners out here. They're calling on people who have access.
These ain't nothing but photo ops and pay billionaires and millionaires as pan protesters. Get out there and be crash dummies. Let me know what y'all think inside of the chat. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. Teach Henley 40% off your first order, 20% off for life. I love you. I appreciate you. Y'all keep me in the loop. Let me know what y'all think inside of the comments.